His voice was unmistakable, a bass baritone that emanated from theaters and the silver screen in the early 20th century. He was a lawyer, a political activist, described as a tortured genius and no easy feat to portray. But Jamaican-born actor Stogie Kenyatta has captured the essence of Paul Robeson, the complex son of a preacher and descendant of slaves who endeavored to break racial stereotypes during a time of segregation and second-class citizenship. Stogie Kenyatta is here all the way from Los Angeles. He's joined by his wife and stage manager, Mishi, to talk about his one-man show, The World Is My Home, The Life of Paul Robeson. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
All right, so you are not from Los Angeles originally. I want to get to know you a little bit better before we start talking about your show. So tell me, where are you from?
I'm Jamaican-born, born in Kingston, Jamaica, raised in the capital, Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true.
Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, I came west to college on a basketball scholarship, and I ended up at film school at Cal State Long Beach. And since then, I've been acting, done commercials, sitcoms, stand-up comedy, and
You've done a lot.
Well, yeah.
You certainly have. And so when the acting bug bit, when was that?
Quite early, because even when I was in middle school, I remember doing speeches. I always spoke well, and so it was just one of those things. My mother was an English teacher, so they thought TV burnt a lot of electricity and was expensive when we came up from the Caribbean, so we were not allowed to watch but maybe an hour, 2 hours a day, and so we had to read a lot. So
times have changed, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
but you started doing commercials and television, and we've met some of the same people, Danny Glover among them.
Right,
so you've done a lot of work. You've been out there for quite some time. You are now starring in your one-man show. So tell me a little bit more about what it's like to be the only person on stage and portraying a singular character the whole time.
Oh, it's the hardest thing about it is the concentration, because I do 15 characters in a piece, and he ages from the age of 5 all the way to like his 70s, and it's a passion piece of mine. You know, it helps that I wrote it, you know, and it incorporates, you know, the comedy, you know, the storytelling, you know, the brilliance, the aging, the pathos, you know, the passion, the pride, you know, and the triumphs and tragedies of, you know, being a genius black man, you know, under that social criteria of the early 1900s.
And we'll learn more about Paul in just a little bit, but Mishi, you're the stage manager, you're also his wife. Yeah. So what is life on the road like for you?
Oh gosh, it's ongoing.
It's
nonstop.
So how many cities have you toured thus far?
Oh wow.
17 years. We've done over 400 shows in 16 countries.
Wow,
and, you know,
so you've been all over the world.
Yeah, you
How
know.
long have you been doing this show?
17 years we've been touring, yeah. And
17 years.
I met her, we've been married 19 years, and I met her almost 20 years ago. Well, a little over 20 years ago. I was shopping a screenplay at an agency she worked at, Paradigm, and she was the office manager. The receptionist went out for a lunch break, and she was there, and I thought she looked delicious, and my butter pecan Puerto Rican. Yeah.
Yeah, so being a stage manager, what does that mean? What goes into that process?
I actually take care of the wardrobe. I make sure that he's fine. I also do the lights and sound, and pretty much, you know, everything that goes along with that.
It's a lot of responsibility, especially if you've got an audience that's expecting nothing but the best. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's good to know somebody in the booth, you know, has my, you know, she's, like I say, she's got my head and my heart. So
absolutely.
it's
all right. Well, we do need to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk more about Paul Robeson, the central character of your one-man show, and when people can go and see it. So we'll be back after this. And we're back with Stogie Kenyatta, the star of his one-man show, The World Is My Home, The Life of Paul Robeson. He's joined by his wife and stage manager, Mishi. And we were just getting to know the focus of your show, which is Paul Robeson, a very pivotal character in American history, not only because of his acting career as an African-American, his incredible voice, which I think if no one knows who Paul Robeson is, they have heard his voice, Old Man River. I mean, that voice just reverberating, you know, out into the audience, but he was also incredibly intelligent. He was a lawyer, a valedictorian,
That's
right?
right.
And of course, a political activist. So,
And he spoke 15 languages as well.
15 languages. So tell me more. Tell me more about
Well,
him and why you
he
chose
was
him.
well. He's the most unique of all our. We've had the Martin Luther Kings, we've had the Malcolm X, we have the Frederick Douglasses, and those people. And but most young people wouldn't even want their lives because it's so dramatic. Robeson was a paradigm for African American success. He achieved in every area that made African Americans successful, which was entertainment, athletics, law, and social
He
justice.
played football, right?
That's right.
College.
He was one of the first, he was an All-American football player. I played football, baseball, basketball in college,
At
and
Rutledge?
then went on to at Rutgers University.
yeah.
And then he went on to become the early NFL. He played in the early NFL as well. But he succeeded in so many things, and then as a singer and entertainer, actor on stage and screen, a singer, and then he fought for social justice. So in many ways, he was Jim Brown, LeBron James, Martin Luther King, and Frederick Douglass, rolled into one. And so he was quite unique, And the fact that he spoke 16 languages, and was essential to the resistance movement against the Nazi Jews. His music was banned by the Nazis when he visited the Warsaw ghettos in Poland. So he is truly a black Renaissance man, and his vision of a world without colors where all men are brothers preceded Martin Luther King by around 60 years.
That's
so
right.
It was really under that social criteria, 1919, when America was an illiterate nation. Here you had a valedictorian graduating, going to Columbia University Law School, an Ivy League law school, and the brightest with a 4.0 GPA. So he was truly, truly an amazing person. So it's been my joy and pleasure to take it around the globe and keep his legacy alive.
Was it, when you first heard about who Paul Robeson was, when was that?
I was in Brooklyn, as a young student. Yes.
And did you just always know that you wanted to do something about it?
No, it happened quite by accident, but because I wanted, a film and television career primarily. I'm a screenwriter. I've written scripts and different things, and I have a new one that I believe, Promise of Paradise, which will be coming out hopefully, and I'll get to shoot that in the coming year. And so, and then in the meantime, just touring it. So it's our first tour here of South Carolina.
So here you have a fascinating character, so a lot of material to work with, but being a one-man show, you're the only one on stage.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
It's just it's suspension of disbelief, the essence of acting. You create moments, you live it. I have 6 costume changes right there in front of the audience, and it's an amazing thing. And so what sells it is the fact the more people see it, the more they buy it.
Yeah, that is true. Well, let's start talking about that. So you've got a show coming up. It's going to be at the Citadel here in Charleston.
I'm at the Citadel tonight, and the show will be dedicated to the memory of Charles Foster. At 17 years old, he was an honor student right here in Charleston. He broke the color line in 1966. And he graduated and became the first African American to graduate from the Corps of Cadets in 1970, and went on to a successful career before he was murdered in outside of Dallas in 1986. And so we're going to honor his life. Then we're going to do in Orangeburg, the oldest historical black college there, Claflin University, and so and then from there we go to Morris Brown College. Morris Brown, it's named after him. He's from Charleston as well, ironically, in Atlanta. Reverend Charles Guyton is gifting is a huge benefit there for Morris Brown College. And then coming back to Myrtle Beach, Memorial Day weekend for James Stevens' brand new Asher Theater there in Myrtle Beach.
That's right. We just had him on, as a matter of fact. We just
How
had the
about
Asher
that?
Theater on. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a fantastic
Absolutely.
venue.
So then we go international.
Going to
International, yes. We're going to Belize. The National Institute of Culture is bringing us back to Belize. Vernon Gregory, and then Henry and Marcia Matu in the Cayman Islands, the patron saints of theater in Cayman Islands. They've been keeping it alive there for years. We'll be doing the Cayman Islands, and then the Leadership Conference in Princeton University, the Fire Leadership Conference with Danny Glover, and then finally to East Africa, an East African tour that will be sponsored by Ethiopian Airlines, the #1 fastest growing airline in the world.
Fantastic. All right, we'll have all that information on foxcharleston.com, so if you do plan on traveling internationally, you can always catch our guest, Stogie Kenyatta, doing this fantastic play. So we're really looking forward to seeing it. Thank you both for coming on.
You're very welcome.
All
Thank
right.
you.